Hey guys, it's Student Size here, and welcome to another video. This video is going to be based off of my hypertrophy pull day. Pull day, if you don't know, is a day where you are working primarily your pulling muscles, so your back. You can be working your traps, you'd be working your biceps, and the back and biceps, particularly the lats and biceps, are what we focus on the most in my exercise program. That is essentially what pull day is, and it's hypertrophy based, so we'll talk about that a little bit more in the video. One quick clarification: throughout the entire video, there are a couple of issues with audio cuts that were out of my control. I will do my best to try and fix those in the future, but as of right now, I'm not quite adept enough with Adobe Premiere to be able to take care of those that well. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Alright guys, it's 6 a.m. and we're gonna go ahead and hit the gym. It's gonna be a pull workout, hypertrophy based, so we'll see you inside.
Now there are a couple of things that I want to give you a heads up on right away before I really get into exactly what I want to talk about in the video. First and foremost, you're going to be able to see the sets, the reps, and exactly what exercise in one of the corners, whichever one is most convenient as per the camera angle, while I'm doing the lift. That's because I'm not necessarily going to be announcing, hey, I'm switching to this lift now, or this lift now, or this number of sets or reps now. I'm not going to be doing that. And the reason is because I'd rather get more in depth in certain topics with you guys. Secondly, I'm recording this in the middle of the day in a college dorm. That being said, there's going to be noises around me that I'm not going to be able to completely cancel out, negate. Usually I record at night when everyone's asleep, when quiet hours are a thing, so usually I don't have to deal with that and the audio comes out a little bit cleaner. But it might not come out that way today, and I apologize for that in advance. One of the things that I'm trying very hard to do while I'm doing my lat pull downs, and maybe not exactly doing perfectly, and I recognize that as something that I'm trying to improve on, I'm trying to keep my back straight, and the reason for that is I'm trying to prevent myself from using momentum on lat pull downs. I'm trying to create that overload strictly through the muscle, the lats, doing all of the work. On my rows that you saw me doing there, I wasn't doing that. I was allowing for momentum. And the reason for that there is because I'm more focused on the eccentric contraction than the concentric contraction. I'm more focused on the active stretch while I'm trying to resist it under load than I am on the pulling it back and making sure that I get the strongest contraction there. That's not as important to me with the row. It is more important to me with the lat pull down, however, to do that. An important point to realize when I'm doing my back exercises is that I do my best to keep my shoulders stable throughout the movement, every time. The reason for that is because with the instability in the shoulder that you can create, if you don't keep your traps tight, we have the tendency to end up letting the weight yank our shoulders and cause wear and tear on the joint over time. It's not something that I particularly want to create, and as such, I do my best at all times to prevent that. With the curls that I'm doing here, I call them Arnold curls. They have a couple of specific things implemented in them. First and foremost, I'm as careful as possible about making sure that I don't allow my shoulders to join in on the work. I try to make sure that I have my elbow on my leg, so that when I do the curl, it's not like I'm about to pull my shoulder up and that's going to be how I get the weight up, where I cheat with my shoulder. I'm trying to make sure that I isolate that bicep. As you can see while I'm doing it as well, I'm making sure on the bottom to go into pronation and then supinate as I'm going up. What that essentially means is A pronated grip is where, essentially, when you have your hand out in front of you, so the back of your fist is visible right in front of you, and your fingers are pointed in towards you. Supination is just the exact opposite. Your fingers are pointed out away from you, and the back of your fist is pointed in towards you. That allows for the other functions of the bicep to be used, which it's not just flexion of the arm, but supination of the arm. It also allows for me to try and focus a little bit more on the bicep contraction. From a technical standpoint, you could definitely see that the bicep was doing more work, but from a more physiological standpoint, where you're in tune with your body, you're able to feel it more strongly, and when you're able to feel it more strongly, not only does it help motivate you, but it also helps keep you in line with everything that you do. The other thing that I am making sure that I do, if you look closely at my wrists, you see them not staying fully straight in comparison with my forearm. They end up bending down with the weight as it goes up. The reason for that is because there are muscles in your forearm that would like to contribute to the lift. I'm just trying to neutralize that so that I isolate my bicep over anything else. If I were to allow my forearm to get into it, I could use more weight for sure. The issue there is that I'm not really getting the function that I'm looking for, and that is not something that I particularly am apt to do. If I'm doing an exercise, I'm doing it to try and get the functions that I'm looking for, not necessarily to look good, to do more weight. That shouldn't be the goal if you're really looking to build yourself, to get stronger, to do anything that people say that they're in the gym for, usually. And usually what people say they're in the gym for, usually that's good. Sometimes, though, there are some bad things, but for the most part, people say that they're in the gym for good reasons, but then they allow their ego and desires to get the better of them, and they don't do as well as they intend because of those. This right here, the preacher curl, I am making sure that I keep my shoulders as still as possible, and a very important point throughout every single exercise that I have been doing is I am breathing out forcefully, whether it be through my nose or through my mouth, with every concentric rep that I'm doing. If I do that, studies have shown that I have the capability to output 15% more power. I don't particularly know the exact processes behind that, whether it be due to an oxygen release having more stability through your core and having more stability through your entire body, or some other reason. I can't necessarily speak to that as much as I can speak to the studies indicate that it does increase power output. That increase in power output, though, will help me, in turn, increase muscular damage, which increases hypertrophic results later on. And that hypertrophy is exactly what I'm going for in this day. As you can see through all of the sets and reps that are up there, I usually have that higher rep range, that 8 up to 10 rep range. I know I didn't go up to 10 in this workout, but it is still important to realize when you're trying to go for that hypertrophy, that anything you can do to elicit more muscle damage, to a point, is a good thing. Now, you don't want to stay in the gym training very hard for 3 hours if you can physically do that, because when you're doing that, you actually tend to cause more issues than you intend. You tend to cause more damage than your body is able to rebuild. Sleep is a very important factor. It may not be something that I get enough of. I need to do better at that. But when you don't sleep enough, the muscle that you're trying to build is more difficult to build, because when you're asleep is when you're going to have the effects of muscle building most strongly applicable to you. Right here, you see a different exercise that I'm doing. It's a version of the one-arm dumbbell row that you would see me doing on a bench or on the rack. When I'm doing the one-arm dumbbell variant, I'm doing it on the rack because I'm trying to prevent hernias. Hernias are possible to have happen to you if you're on the bench because you're imbalancing your weight across one side. And by doing that, you end up actually causing yourself to have to compensate through your core, and everything follows suit in a poor manner. The other thing that you can see me do here, though, is I'm really focusing on keeping my shoulders in line while keeping my body low. The reason I'm doing both of those is because while I keep my shoulders in line and my body low, it allows for the cable to do more work in terms of the stretch that I'm really looking for. So with my body low, I'm able to get a much larger stretch on my lat, and with the cable out like that, I'm able to really utilize the function of the cable, which is primarily to allow me to have a larger strength curve. Strength curves are something that I'll talk about in a separate video. It should be coming next week, so be on the lookout for that.
All right, guys, and that was the workout. Hopefully I was able to teach you a couple of things through it and through the commentary along with it. And hopefully you got something out of that that you'll be able to use in your own workouts, in your own day-to-day life in the gym. If anything was helpful, I would appreciate it if you could go down, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, maybe turn on the bell for notifications. Maybe if you could comment something that's constructive criticism or anything of the sort, I would appreciate it for not only getting better for myself, but also it helps boost the YouTube algorithm, which in turn will help me reach out to other people and hopefully help them as well. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.